you want to make sure it's not a course page. It's a retreat page. So it needs you to put people into the feeling of the retreat. You need to share about the rooms and the food and the experience. You need to hit on the pain points and share the benefits. What's the promise of the retreat? What are they going to walk away with? And the page should qualify that person so that at the top of the page, they practically understand whether this is for them or not. Because you don't want to waste people's time. They should know right away if that retreat is for them or not.
And also not attract the people that it's not for as well, because that can affect the dynamic of the group.
Absolutely. There's nothing worse on a trip than someone who doesn't belong there because it messes the energy up for everybody. And then you really have to work hard on the trip to deal with that.
Welcome to today's episode of Business Growth Lab. I'm really excited to have this chat with Sheri Rosenthal. We're going to talk about retreats. And I absolutely love retreats because it's a really great way to create such a deep transformation with your clients. However, I'm not a retreat expert. So Sheri, welcome to the show because it's all on you today.
Thank you so much, Samantha. I'm excited. I love talking about retreats and there's so much to share. So yeah, let's dive in and have some fun with everyone.
Let's do it. Let's start off. What made you decide to specialize in retreats versus, online courses or one-on-one coaching or any other way that we can deliver our services?
Well, I'll give you a little background. First of all, my training is actually in being a foot doctor. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 18 years and I was unhappy with my life and wanted to expand into something else, but I had no idea. So what did I do? I went on a retreat, my very first one with Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote The Four Agreements, which a lot of people have read his book.
Such a good book.
So that first retreat was really life-changing for me. It made me realize, why my life was the way it was and what I could do to make it better. And that led to 8 years of studying with him. And then from there, he asked me to run his business for 2 of those 8 years. And during that time, I learned how to do retreats because I actually created and ran all of his live events and all of his speaking engagements. So it was quite an education. I fell madly in love with retreats because it really changed my life. I went on to teach the 4 agreements and write a few books about it. Did that for 13 years. And then in 2014, and I started a travel agency in 2003 to run my own retreats through.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014, after helping retreat leaders for so long, I realized they really needed more education because a lot of their retreats would fail. They would not fill them, or if they ran them, just breaking even or sometimes even at a deficit. So then 2014 started Wanderlust Entrepreneur, and I have been training retreat leaders ever since. We've trained over 20,000 of them, and through my travel company, we've created and managed over 1,000 retreats. So we've been around for a while, and we know our stuff, and this is my jam for sure.
Love that so much. All right. For anyone that's listening and is already going, oh my goodness, I've always wanted to run a retreat. And I know that is so many coaches. Every client we have says, I'd love to run a retreat. Maybe they want to. What questions should they be asking themselves to decide if it's really not just the right thing for them, but it's going to be profitable? Like, what else do they need to be asking?
Well, retreats are profitable if you price them correctly, and there's definitely a way to do that. So assuming a person can price them properly, some of the reasons why you would want to run them are, first of all, you want an opportunity to be more intimate with your people because it is a very intimate experience and the transformations are usually huge. it's also a beautiful opportunity to work with people and then make another offer at the end of the retreat because they've gotten so much from you. And you can't help but fall in love with everybody on a retreat. And so it's a great way to have continuity in your business. And people are going to go away. They might as well go away with you. And a lot of times they can write off that experience, which is really great. So if you don't mind working in smaller groups with people, now there's some people who do not like that. They just want to do an online program. They don't want to get that close to their people who they're working with. But for most heart-based entrepreneurs, it's something they do really enjoy. They love that opportunity to dive deep with their clients.
We've just mentioned pricing very, very quickly there. I'm really intrigued about this because I don't know if I've got a limiting belief about this. I've always been happy to run a retreat and break even and really concentrate on the back end. And I know there are some people that are like freaking out because they create their retreat, so the money-making activity, and they want to make a big sum of money just from the retreat. Can you break down for us how to work this? Like, is my belief super limiting? Can you make money from the retreats? Is it, off the back end? I'd love you to unpack all of that.
Absolutely. And I would love to, Samantha. So here's the thing. A lot of times we think of the retreat as just the retreat itself. So let's say we were doing a 5-day retreat. The problem is you're not just doing a 5-day retreat because your retreat starts like 6 months to a year before when you're actually planning it out. You're creating your sales page. You're doing all your marketing. You are getting on the phone with these people and doing a sales call with them. Then you're finally delivering your retreat, and then you've got the cleanup afterwards. So you were working at least 100 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you make no money, you didn't pay yourself for 100 hours of work. And even if you just pay yourself a small amount of money, let's say $3,000 you netted, you're making $30 an hour. It's actually not sustainable. So you cannot do that. You've got to actually charge an amount. So at a minimum, I would say a lot of people are happy if they net like $10,000 from a retreat, because then if you made $10,000, you work 100 hours, that would be $100 an hour. So, all right, that kind of makes sense. So if you think about your net as a line item in your list of expenses when you're pricing your retreat, it just becomes another line item. So what do you want to make per person for this retreat? When you think of it that way and price it that way, it really works out fine. Because the amount you're adding in there, like if your sales page builds value and people can see what they're going to walk away with, I mean, we'll always pay for a solution. Like if you can fix something for me or do something for me, I'm going to pay you for it and be happy about it. And people forget that. They want to pay you. This is what happens energetically if we don't accept payment. It's like putting your hand up to the universe and saying, no, universe, I really don't want to get paid for what I do. And that stops the flow of abundance in the universe. So we don't want to stop things up. We want to let them flow. So to allow people to do an energetic exchange for that transformation that they're getting. So for what they receive, they're giving us a piece of paper in return. And so that's the exchange of energy. And then, yes, if you sell something at the end and there's an upsell, that's lovely. But that money is for the next amount of time and transformation that you're giving. So that's separate. It really doesn't have to do with the 100 hours of work you put in for your retreat. So everybody listening has to stop that thinking. Stop, stop, stop. Okay? You need to be paid. Your net pay needs to be a line item in your pricing. And then it'll be fine. You will always make money on your retreats. And that's the mistake, one of them, that our heart-based entrepreneurs make.
Yeah, totally. What needs to be considered when we're choosing the experience? So not just the location. So that's like one piece, choosing the location, but also the add-ons, making sure that we're balancing the transformation and the experience, but also so that we're coming out with a profit without the retreat costing $500,000.
Well, there's plenty of beautiful venues that are chic and not overly costly. So you can find different venues. That's not so much the issue. I think the main thing we need to consider is how we are aligning the location with the theme of the retreat. And this mismatch is where a lot of people go wrong. So, for example, if you were doing a knitting retreat, let's say, obviously you could do that anywhere, right? You could do it on a beach, you could do it on a cruise. But what if you took people to New Zealand where there were more sheep than people, and you were actually there during shearing season, and you saw the way that the wool is processed and dyed, and you see that whole entire 7,000-year-old process of making wool to knit, it would be transformational. And so this is like a lot of people would think, well, a knitting retreat isn't transformational. Well, it is if you have an amazing experience that really impacts you. So almost any retreat on any subject can be transformational if people are having a mind-blowing experience. So you want to pick a location that matches what you are sharing. That's most important. And then the activities will come naturally.
That's really fascinating. Can you give us some other examples of retreats that people have run that tie together that experience like that, just to get our juices flowing and have us thinking and being excited?
Absolutely, Samantha. My pleasure. So what if you taught people how to speak from the stage? You have a lot of coaches that do that. Normally, they'll do it in a hotel room by an airport, and the people will be in a room and they'll stand in front of the room and they'll be coached. But what if you went someplace where there was an ancient amphitheater, like maybe someplace in Europe, and you rented that amphitheater for your group for a certain period of time each day, and your people got to stand in the energy of these ancient orators? That would just blow me away. I think that would be amazing. And then there are people who do yoga retreats and spiritual retreats. You can always do that at a beautiful sacred site. You could do it in Egypt. You could do it in Mexico at the pyramids. That's always wonderful. I remember once when I was teaching the Four Agreements, I paid off the guards at this small pyramid, and we went to the top of the pyramid and did an all-night ceremony there under the stars. It was really beautiful. So there's so many things that you could do that maybe don't even cost a lot, but are amazing. So it just depends. Like, for example, let's say you are into knives and you do a knife retreat. It's your thing, knives. You could take your group to Japan where they actually forge these amazing paper-thin knives and learn which knife you're supposed to use for what activity. That in itself is life-changing. Like, you now understand, with meat, I need to use this. And with fish, I need to do this. If I'm chopping vegetables, I need this knife. And why? And it's just fantastic. We have people who do wine retreats. What if you were able to take them to some wineries that are making wine with grapes that have kind of fallen out of fashion, but now are coming back again because they're more ancient vines that have been growing and people haven't been utilizing. So it's like, if there's a hobby or a subject or a topic or a group of people that could gather on a subject, you have a retreat.
I love that. I love that. I'd love you to talk us through an ideal day on retreat. What are the things that you need to make sure that you include? And what are the things that you need to avoid, or some of the things that you see people doing on retreats that definitely should not be there?
It's a great question, Samantha. One of the things that always gets me is when people put too much learning into their retreat. So there's too much learning, not enough lounging.
Mm-hmm.
So the word retreat means to go within. And if you don't have enough time to process what you are learning in a relaxing way, people are going to feel at the end of the retreat that they need a retreat. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be exhausted. So you need to pace yourself. Maybe in the morning you gather together and talk for a while, and then go out somewhere and have an activity that ties in with what you're teaching. So that way the retreat makes sense. Those
Mm-hmm.
activities align with what you're sharing. And then time in the late afternoon to relax and have a massage or a journal, or just have a drink at the bar if that's allowed on your retreat, and dinner, and then maybe a gathering after dinner where everyone shares and tells what did they learn today, how did they feel, do they have questions, where are they in their process. So I think creating your layout in that way works quite well.
Mm, I like that. And I definitely agree that I think that as coaches, or I see so many coaches getting into the thought that adding value equals teaching more. And in actual fact, it's the opposite.
Yes, exactly. Meaningful activities to support what you're teaching, to take people out of their mind and put them into their heart, or to do something more kinesthetic than
Mm.
mental, is extremely helpful for the learning process.
Totally. I want to talk about the marketing because I think that this is one of the pieces that holds so many people back. It's trying to actually fill the retreat. What are some of the traps that you've seen that people fall into?
Okay. One of them is they don't give enough time to market their retreat. So if you are doing something that's going to take a week, you know, a lot of people, they have family, partners, maybe kids, maybe they're taking care of an elderly parent. You can't just take off. You can't expect people to just take off. You need to give them time. So you have to have plenty of time to market. We recommend 6 to 12 months, really.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of venues book up that far in advance. So you've got to book out that far anyway, just to get the venue perhaps that you want. So that is very important. You have to have a runway. Also, I recommend marketing your retreat to the people who know, like, and trust you. I know for myself, I'm not going to go away for a week with someone I don't know how they teach. I don't know their point of view. I don't know their values. Your best clients are your peeps. So you don't want to market to cold traffic. You want to grow your list all year long, even while you're marketing your retreats. So, for example, when I started Wanderlust Entrepreneur in 2014, I wanted to go to Morocco, so I booked for October of the following year. I
Mm-hmm.
basically started the business in September, so it was
Mm-hmm.
like a year and month later. I had no list, zero. But by the time that trip came, I had 15,000 people on my list.
Wow.
So during that year, I did webinars. I did a lot of things to grow my list. And as I was growing the list, the trip was filling.
Mm.
So I was growing my list and then offering them the retreat. So it kept filling, 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 filling. And that's what I ended up doing. And it was great. So you can be new. You just have to give yourself time to be growing your list while you're marketing the retreat. And if you do that, you should be able to fill your retreat. Now, today, people are very distracted because of everything going on in the world. So you want to make sure that you have a solid marketing plan like know what I call hummingbird marketing, like when you do a little of this and flit over there and do a little of that, because that's not a business plan to me. That's a hummingbird.
Uh-huh.
So you want to make sure that you have it planned out. What are you going to do? Are you going to do some webinars? Are you going to do some come on and ask me questions about the trip? Or like, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be teaching on something that the retreat will solve. So there's a natural lead into that. It's important to have that marketing plan.
Mm. You mentioned little workshops or webinars, little Q&As. What are some of the other marketing approaches that we can take? Because from what you just said there, it is our warm, like the people that know us, our warm list. So we need to actually, even if someone's got to know us and downloaded a free resource, they're still not what I would call warm. So what are some of the ways that people can warm that list up over and above what you said, or maybe going a little bit deeper into what you talked about there?
I mean, some people do smaller trainings throughout the year. So if someone isn't buying, let's say, their big coaching package or buying their big online program, there are people that hang out on our list and may not do something. You could always run like a 2-hour call on a subject that will be covered on the retreat, charge $27, talk for 2 hours, and then make a pitch at the end for the retreat and say, hop on a call with me if you're not sure if this is good for you. Come on a call. We'll see if this retreat is what you need right now. And so you can do like multiple little trainings like that are on the subject that the retreat is going to be on, and just say, hey, we're going to dig into this much deeper on the retreat. It's going to change your life. You need to be there. So you can do something like that, and that helps warm those people up. And even some people in your higher end programs may come in and say, yeah, I want to listen to that too, because a lot of times they'll listen to anything and everything that you do.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
because they love you.
totally. What can you tell us about the sales page part? Because when I look at the sales pages of people that are running retreats and filling them and people that are really struggling, I see a lot of disparity around the transformation. So people will say, oh, come to this retreat because we've got a spa and you get your own bedroom and we'll be eating dinner together, rather than come to this retreat and sort of have this transformation. Can you speak to that? Because I'm sure you've seen a lot of bad sales pages, and I know you would have seen a lot of great sales pages.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought this up, Samantha. So the sales page that's how you're selling your trip. And that sales page not only needs to share the benefits, so it builds value to justify the cost of your retreat, but it also takes care of any objections. So that is really important too. You want to make sure all the objections are answered. So, for example, in our course, our retreat blueprint course, we actually teach how to do a sales page, and we have an AI
Like
system.
a custom GPT to help people.
Yes. So you answer certain questions and put it in there, and it'll build your whole sales page for you, because it is that important. And you want to make sure it's not a course page. It's a retreat page. So it needs you to put people into the feeling of the retreat. You need to share about the rooms and the food and the experience. You need to hit on the pain points and share the benefits. What's the promise of the retreat? What are they going to walk away with? And the page should qualify that person so that at the top of the page, they practically understand whether this is for them or not. Because you don't want to waste people's time. They should be able to tell right away if that retreat is for them or not.
And also, it not attract the people that it's not for as well, because that can affect the dynamic of the group.
Absolutely. There's nothing worse on a trip than someone who doesn't belong there, because it messes the energy up for everybody. And then you really have to work hard on the trip to deal with that. So I just got back I rented a 161-foot yacht in Croatia. We went.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's one of my bucket list items. I love Croatia.
It was over the top. Everyone just was blown away. And it was fun building the sales page for that trip. And they loved it. It was great. The people it was like one of my best trips. Everyone got along with each other perfectly and just got so much out of the trip. So it was a wonderful experience.
I love that.
So sales pages, yes.
Yeah.
Critical.
Yeah, definitely. How do you manage the what ifs that come up? Like someone has booked the retreat, they've missed the time that they can get their deposit back, they've got low enrollment, maybe there's travel issues that are coming into it, maybe there's cancellations. What are any rituals or practices or mindset shifts that you recommend to help people? Because it can be a bit of a roller coaster ride, can't it?
So the thing is, there's certain things you just cannot prevent. So if there's something that happens in that country, like let's say war broke out or bombings happened or something, a lot of times you can get out of the contract or maybe they would defer the time to another time. For me, all of my participants have to show that they have trip cancellation insurance because I don't want to deal with them asking me for the money when I've already paid my venue and everybody. So I can't do that. So that takes care of that safety net. But as far as if you don't make your numbers, the venue is going to charge you. So commit and make it so. And also be careful in your pricing because a lot of people, when they do their pricing, they will price on the number of people they wish to come.
Mm-hmm.
It is much better to price on the lowest number of people you wish to run the retreat with. Now, yes, that's going to make the price of the retreat higher because you're pricing on a lower number of people. But if you don't make your numbers, you're still making money. You can run the retreat and feel good about it and not feel upset. So there are protective mechanisms more than what I'm sharing right here that we teach. But you want to put those mechanisms into place. So should something happen, you are protected to the best of your ability. It's not going to be perfect, but it could be better than losing money.
Yeah, totally. What's one of the biggest surprises that you've had as a retreat leader that you thought would work, but it didn't, and it made you change the way you've put your retreats together? Or maybe it's something that you've seen happen to someone else.
I'm not sure I can really answer that the way you're asking it. Do you want to reword it or ask?
Yeah, sure. What is something that you did on a retreat that didn't give you the anticipated outcome that you were hoping for?
Okay. So pretty much everything that I do plan works out well. I've been doing this a really long time, and I think I know my ideal client really well. And because I've had a travel agency since 2003, I'm pretty good. But as far as other people, sometimes they will plan activities that are like they don't really align with the people who they have on the trip. So, like, for example, if your people are older, maybe 50 and above, but you have them hiking like a mountain that has scree on it and they're going to be falling and hurting themselves, like, you've got to really think about your ideal client. Most of the boo-boos happen when we're not really considering that. So, for example, if you were doing a retreat for newer mothers, they're exhausted. You don't want to wear them out, want to nourish them in the activities. So it's like that. Now, there are things that you plan that don't work out that are not your fault. Like, for example, maybe on one of your retreats, you were planning. Okay, here's an example. People who do swim with the dolphins. Well, if it's stormy and the boat can't go out, and it just so happens that that week you've got bad weather, they're not going to give you your money back, and you're not going to go out on the boat, and you're not going to see any dolphins. And there's nothing you can do about it, and it's not something preventable.
Mm. So is that about
other than
putting the things in place before you leave? Like, okay, this is what the plan is, but if it doesn't happen, this is what we'll do?
Yes, exactly. Or consult an almanac and see what your best weeks are, possibly. I mean, it's hard. These things are challenging. So, like, even with my trip, I picked a week where I felt like the weather could be as good as possible. And I was lucky, but it's a boat trip.
Yeah. It's Mother Nature, right? She'll do whatever she wants.
Exactly. So in those cases, it can be tricky. But like you said, which was wise, if you think about it and have a backup plan, then it seems very effortless for the people on the trip.
Talking about things not going well, there is a lot of global uncertainty right now.
Yes.
Not just in other countries, but in our own countries. Like most countries are going through some sort of cost of living crisis. There's all sorts of crazy world events that are going on that are creating all sorts of unrest.
Yes.
What changes are you seeing in retreat design right now with all of that uncertainty? What do people need to pay attention to? What do they need to be aware of?
I think that if you stay away from the biggest cities where protests could happen and like more craziness, and maybe go to some of the areas that are less traveled, I think you're going to do better and have a better time. First of all, there'll be less people around. It'll be less crazy, and natives will be more relaxed because actually the big tourist centers are over touristed right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about unrest, a lot of it happens more in the big cities, right? It's not like in the more rural areas do things go awry. So if you think about where you'd like to go, be a little more thoughtful about what the situation is in that area and see, can I do what we call them dupes, destination dupes, like duplicates, destination dupe for where you want to go. So even if like Italy now is over touristed, go to Croatia or go to Slovenia, and it's quiet there as far as craziness. So if you look at destination dupes, I think you can find things that are going to be very lovely, very transformational. They're going to have just as lovely of a time, and you won't be in areas where things could possibly go awry.
What about numbers? We are in a cost of living crisis. What are you seeing with numbers of people filling their retreats?
People are filling their retreats. People save up for their travel. They're going to travel. So it also depends on your ideal client. Like if your ideal client is older, they tend to have more available money. Like if you're in the baby boomers, but if your ideal client is in their 40s, then you're going to want to find something chic and less expensive. So maybe it's glamping or something fun like that that is less expensive than like some luxury resort. So you can really play around with that, and your trips can come in at a price point that your ideal client will be okay with. But you would be surprised. One of my students from our Retreat Blueprint program wanted to do a high-end trip to Africa, like safari, just over the top beautiful. And she created a trip that sold for $22,000. Now, before that, her highest retreats were in the 6,000s. Like she did to London and so some other great places that, yeah, they're cities and they were expensive and the food was expensive and it was all inclusive. And so, yeah, so 22,000 was a big jump for her. And normally her retreats took like 6 to 8 months to fill. The $22,000 trip, can you guess how long it might have taken her to fill that?
I'm thinking not long because it sounds like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. So if you go to the right people, they would jump at that chance.
3 days.
Wow, that's incredible.
3 days. She was shocked.
Yeah, that is
So it just goes to show you she filled a trip and no one batted an eye because she built the value on the trip page. They saw what they were getting. They hadn't been on that kind of safari before and they registered.
love
So
it so
it's
much.
really all about how you construct your trip. And if people see the value there and it's beautiful, whether it's expensive or not, like they will come.
Mm.
I mean, it's just in the construction.
I love that so much. Oh, so much to think about, but I think we've covered so much of it. I know that you have got a free video course talking about so much more than this. Can you share a little bit about why people want to get this? And of course, we'll pop the link in the show notes.
Absolutely. So we have a really fun 4 video series. It's not long. They can watch a little bit every day. And it really covers how to design, price, promote, and monetize your retreat and how to do it safely. So, and legally. And I think they'll really, really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun because it's on our course platform, which is it's gamified. So it's fun to go through. And it's the profitable retreat formula. And it really teaches them how to run a retreat like a business. So it is sustainable. You've got to be able to make that income. So they love it. It's fun. And I think if you've been on the borderline of whether to run a retreat or not, watching that is going to make you feel a lot more confident because you have a better understanding of what needs to be in place, how you're going to do this, and how you're going to make it profitable and fill it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Totally. It covers so much more than what we've covered today. Even though we've covered so much, I had a quick look and I love how you're covering some of the legalities because there's something that's so important that we need to know and something that a lot of people will say, oh, either forget about it or, nah, we'll be right. That's a very Australian thing. We'll be fine. We should be right. Yeah. So definitely jump in.
Absolutely. We do want to do things safely and legally because you don't know. Even in a coaching business, someone could sue you. That's why we have professional liability insurance, right? For our coaching. Well, it's the same thing if you take someone on a retreat. You're responsible for them when you're traveling. So you want to be insured for that too. It makes sense. It's.
Totally. I'll have the link in the show notes below wherever you're listening. But Sheri, I'd love to close. What is something that our listeners can implement right now to move forward over and above, obviously, getting access to that course? What is something that you can leave people with that right now that they can get, the next step?
Well, I think the online video series is great. Look, people can come to our website at any time. We have so many resources that are free on that website, Samantha. So we've got like downloadable guides. We've got blog posts that are really heavy duty. They can also see we have a registration for something called a retreat hotline where people can come and listen. We do it weekly and we answer questions, which is fun. So there's lots of resources. I mean, we also have a Facebook group that has like 65,000 retreat leaders and newbies and wannabes and experienced people in. So there's a lot. I mean, we're happy to help anybody who wants to dip their toe into creating a retreat for their community. So it's just, do you have that in your heart? it doesn't have to be traveling international. You can do a retreat in your backyard practically.
Mm.
So a lot of times people think like, oh, but I want to do a retreat, but I don't want to do it internationally. No, you don't have to do it internationally. Every country has beautiful places. So
Mm.
you don't need to go crazy. You can keep it simple. So I always tell people start simply. And then when you have your confidence, you can do something bigger. So there's always a way to do it if it's something you have in your heart to do. And
Mm.
people who want to do a retreat, they know who they are. They just
Totally.
left it under wraps for a while. They've been avoiding it
Exactly.
because they're
A lot of
scared.
fear. Yeah, exactly. I remember chatting to someone on the podcast. It was probably a couple of years ago. And it was actually, we didn't talk about it on the podcast, but in the green room, we were chatting about the fact that she ran a retreat where she had like a little granny flat or like out in the back of her house. And there was um, between the granny flat and her main home, there was a little fountain. So at the end of the night, they would go like past the fountain into their own area. But then in the morning, they would, something to do, like when the fountain went on, it was okay. You could come in for breakfast. And I was like, that's actually really cool.
It is. You would not believe some of the things that people do. I mean, a lot of people have extra buildings on their property that they turn into little places for retreats. I mean, you don't have to have a retreat with 12 people. You can have small retreats with 3 people. It
Mm.
doesn't really matter. It all can be profitable. So there's so many ways to do it. If you really have it in your heart and you want to do it, we can help you do that.
Love that so much. Sheri, thank you for coming on the show and sharing everything today. And definitely, you have inspired me to think about running our next retreat. So thank you so much.
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on, Samantha, because retreats are needed. They are so needed right now. So we need to take our peeps away and help their nervous systems get grounded
Yes.
in this crazy world of ours. So thank you so much for letting me share today.